From the colossal St. Francis Dam to the ominous Bahia Honda Rail Bridge, these are 8 strange abandoned locations across America. Number 8. The St. Francis Dam. Location: California. The St. Francis Dam was constructed in only 2 years, between 1924 and 26. It was supposed to be an integral part of the Los Angeles aqueduct water supply infrastructure. Its close proximity to Los Angeles did not trouble anyone at the time. And by close, I mean 40 miles from downtown LA. On March 12, 1928, 3 minutes before midnight, the St. Francis Dam experienced a catastrophic failure. In all, 12.4 billion gallons of water rushed down the canyons, destroying everything in sight. The only piece that was not moved by the water became known as the Tombstone. The largest remaining piece of the dam, weighing in at 10,000 tons, was dragged 3/4 of a mile by the current. Around 425 people lost their lives, and the height of the water initially reached 140 feet. Bodies were found as far south as the USA-Mexico border. Many more were washed out into the Pacific Ocean. The tragedy was massive, and people wanted answers. There were 4 separate commissions that came up with almost identical reasons behind the failure. The dam failed as a result of defective foundations. To this day, you can hike around the Sierra Pelona Mountains and hunt for whatever remains of the structure. The reason I went into this much detail about this abandoned place is due to the Oroville Dam scare from a few days ago. The spillway suffered a failure, and fearing imminent collapse, the government issued evacuation orders for 188,000 people. Luckily, nothing failed, but there are more heavy rains expected in the area starting February 15th. Number 7. Holland Island. Location: Chesapeake Bay, Maryland. Holland Island was a marshy island located in the Chesapeake Bay. It was originally settled all the way back in the 1600s. By 1910, the island had about 360 healthy residents. It might sound small, but by Chesapeake Bay standards at the time, it was one of the most populated islands in the area. By 1914, the island started suffering heavy erosion due to harsh winds and the tides. Some people lasted longer than others, but the last family moved away from there in 1918. You may have seen this picture before. The birds, the desolation, the loneliness. It's one of the last few pictures taken of the famous Last House on Holland Island. Built in 1888, the house survived to 2010. That's a pretty good run. It is now owned by the Concord Foundation, which aims to bring awareness to the historical value of the island and the Chesapeake Bay as a whole. Number 6. Cahaba. Location: Cahaba, Alabama. Have you ever heard of the first permanent state capital of Alabama? The city was in construction for a little over 2 years before house lots were sold to the highest bidder. Unfortunately, due to poor planning and the low elevation of Cahaba compared to the nearby Alabama and Cahaba rivers, the capital was very prone to flooding. Well, wouldn't you know it, a major flood struck Cahaba in 1825, and everyone pretty much said, "Screw this, I think we're better off in Tuscaloosa." The town did eventually recover, but by the early 1900s, it was considered a ghost town. Nowadays, only a few of the buildings remain, and the site is considered a National Historic Place. Number 5. Fontainebleau Resort, Las Vegas. Now, I know this will sound like a big fat lie, but even the famous glitz of the Las Vegas Strip suffers the consequences of unpaid bills. Fontainebleau Resort Las Vegas is actually the second tallest building in the Vegas Valley, and it costs around $2.9 billion to get to this point, which many claim is about 70% complete. A lot of messy things happened in 2008, and much of the investors and banks who were responsible for finding new investors totally gave up on the project. Long story short, Carl Icahn bought the building in bankruptcy court for the small sum of $156 million. Seriously though, it is a small sum considering there were already $2.9 billion invested. As of 2015, the hotel is on sale for $650 million, but no one seems to want the mess of a project. And if you think this is an isolated incident, let me introduce you to the Echelon, the Las Vegas Plaza, and the Silver State Arena. Wow. Number 4. Centralia. Location: Centralia, Pennsylvania. Alright, I get it. Everyone and their cat knows about Centralia, but it had to be included at least once in these videos. Centralia was a somewhat decent town in the 80s, with about 1,000 residents. Compare this with the sad state of affairs recently, with an estimated population of around 7 people. The downfall of the town began when a coal seam fire was started sometime in the 1960s. Many people claim that the fire was started because of deliberate illegal burning of trash in a former strip mine. No, the town is not haunted. But yeah, the town is believed to be the inspiration for the horror film Silent Hill. I mean, look at it. It's expected the fire will last for another 250 years if efforts to stop it are unsuccessful. And extra bonus fact, the fire also spread underneath the nearby town of Burnsville, which was also abandoned and leveled. But no one ever talks about that. Poor Burnsville. Number 3. The Glenwood Power Plant. Location, Yonkers, New York. This dirty old power plant has been the location for many rumors and stories, including its importance as a satanic ritual place and gang initiations. The plant was built in 1907 and served an important role in powering up the New York Central Railroad. The building has been abandoned since 1970, and for a long time it was an eyesore, an urban exploration spot, and let's face it, somewhere to go when you ditch school. However, there seems to be some renovation efforts by the Lila Goren Group. The main idea is to turn the plant into a place that can be appreciated by most people. Number 2. Bahia Honda Rail Bridge. Location, Florida Keys, Florida. Check this out. It's a railroad bridge over the ocean. But seriously, it is. It was originally part of the Overseas Railway that connected many parts of the Florida Keys, specifically connecting Bahia Honda Key with Spanish Harbor Key. From 1912 to 1938, it was strictly used as a rail bridge, but it was later converted to highway use, and that lasted until 1972. What happened in 1972? A catastrophic failure? Godzilla? Actually something very mundane. A new, stronger, better, prettier bridge was built. Nowadays, the Bahia Honda Rail Bridge still stands proud over the shallow waters of the Florida Keys. There are no immediate plans to dismantle or destroy what remains of the structure. Now, before we jump into number 1, here are some honorable mentions. Thanks for the love, everyone. And Jay Gossi, glad you enjoy the content. Try to mix it up between famous and obscure. Alright, first up we have the Bullough Plantation in Florida. At one point, this was the largest sugar mill and plantation in Florida. During the Second Seminole War, the plantation was burned down and only a glimpse of what once was remains. Next up, the Grossinger Catskill Resort Hotel. With a name like that, who would ever have imagined this place going under? Located in Liberty, New York, this place was a high roller's dream. And now it's a place to stage photos of lounge chairs next to the tagged pool. Do like the colors though. And is that a zombie in there? And we have the City Methodist Church of Gary, Indiana. Kinda creepy, yeah? Yeah. Number 1, Bannerman Castle. Location, Fishkill, New York. Finally, at number 1. Located at the Hudson River and built simply by chance, the Bannerman Castle was the home of the ammunition dealer Frank Bannerman and his son, who claimed that he was all about peace, even when the Bannerman summer home was also used for a stockpile of ammunition and explosives that he hadn't sold yet. This also led to the accidental explosion of 200 tons of shells and powder in 1920. It did destroy a bit of the castle, and coupled with declining sales, the loss of the ferry boat that served the island, and you can pretty much guess where the place was by 1968. Yeah, that's right, abandoned. Totally, completely abandoned. Nowadays, the island is owned by the New York State Office of Parks and Rec, and starting in May 2017, you can visit the island again. Let your imagination run wild. Check out the next video, hit that like button, and subscribe for more World Unearthed.